Today we're here at the LA Times Festival of Books on USC campus, and the Farhang Foundation is basically exhibiting books about Iran and making an opportunity for Iranian authors to present their work to the greater public at this festival, which is basically the main place to be if you're a book writer, an author, book lover, anybody who's in any way connected to books. It's the fourth year we're here. Farhang's mission is to basically create a forum for Iranians to represent their ideas, and also an opportunity for them to be exposed to the greater society that we're living in. And our mission is to create a more positive image of Iran in the US. Festival of Books has been a venue for us to basically try to do that through presenting authors and books.
My mission in life currently is to bring the works of Rumi, Hafez, Ferdowsi, and the other Persian mystics to more of the non-Farsi speaking world. To that end, I, among other things, have translated some of the poems of Rumi and others, and published a couple of volumes of those translations. And also there's a children's book based on one of the poems of Rumi that I published, and I'm thrilled that the world is finding slowly but surely the value and the great power of these philosophers and mystics. I'm very, very, very impressed with the work that Farhang has been doing in the last decade or so. I think in all kind of areas of presenting the amazing facets of Persian culture to American and other audiences, and particularly what they do at the LA Times Book Festival has been really, really amazing to me, because I personally am a great fan of books, as you may imagine, and I'm just amazed and thrilled that they are supporting the continuing publication and the reading of books, which is something that I think in our world, unfortunately, we're seeing a little bit less of. So I'm glad that they're trying to make up for that in some way.
I got started in the entertainment industry because my grandmother was the foremost opera singer in Iran, Monir and my mother, Zaza, is a recording artist as well, singer-songwriter. And so I grew up in that world, and I started out singing, but I was always reading too. And so I knew that writing books was something I loved just as much as music. And so soon I went from reading books all the time in the recording studio to basically writing my own story. I started with a time travel novel that actually incorporated some of my music that was called Timeless, and that was published by Random House. That was my first book. And then I published 4 more, and the final 6 is my new release. It is a sci-fi young adult novel for HarperCollins that features a brilliant Iranian-American female lead character. I think Farhang Foundation is the most incredible organization, and I would have given anything to have a Farhang when I was growing up. Just the way that they promote Iranian Americans and their art and their culture, and spotlighting the work that we do is so amazing. And I think not only do we get to celebrate our people and the accomplishments of our community, but it also really has created awareness for Americans and people all over the world to what Iranian Americans are really about, and our accomplishments and our creativity, all the good stuff.
I've been publishing probably for about 30 years, dating myself. My first works were on the history of the Iranian Constitutional Revolution. This is a study of the Constitutional Revolution, which came out with Columbia University Press. I then did a book, this is a Persian edition of it, Enqilab Mashrute Iran. And then I did a book on the revolution of 1979, which came out out with Chicago. This is a study of marriage and sex and sexuality in 19th and 20th century Iran, which came out with Cambridge. And this book is a translation of Ali Akbar De Khoda's Charand o Parand, one of the great writers of Iran. It's a work of satire, politics, and revolution, quite relevant still to today. And this book was actually made possible with a grant from Farhang Foundation. And I want to really take this opportunity to thank Farhang for everything it does for this community in so many different ways, whether it's a celebration of Persian Nowruz or this participation in this book fair. Thank you.
I've been a screenwriter for almost 18 years now, writing films, and in 2014 I wrote my first book, which is called The Walk-In Closet, and now I still write both films and books, so I go back and forth between the two. For me, it's an honor to get to tell these stories and to have them read. You know, when I've gotten to be in groups of Iranians who read these stories, whether it's I've been to book clubs, I've been to different groups, support groups, for example, of Iranians, and I think that there's a real need to be having new conversations in our culture. You know, these books deal with sexuality, with adoption, with identity, with a lot of subject matters that have been taboo in our culture, and I think it's wonderful to see our culture embracing these subjects now, and I'm just very honored that I get to be telling these stories for us. For me, one of the reasons I started writing books is because I found it so hard in Hollywood, which is where I've worked for a long time, to make Iranian films. I always got a lot of no's, and I always knew that I had to tell Iranian stories. It didn't make sense for me as a writer to go through my whole career without ever getting to tell the stories, especially of a new generation of Iranians who are living new kinds of lives, contemporary lives. I don't see that a lot in books or in film. So to have an organization like Farhang shining a light on our stories, it's so important. You know, there's so many great writers and artists now doing work that's about Iran and Iranian lives. So we need organizations like Farhang to help expose the world to the work.
I've been writing about religion and identity and culture for about 15, 20 years now, and right now I'm mostly interested in using literature and pop culture in order to transform the way that people think about other cultures, other people, particularly Iranian, Middle Eastern people. That's what I'm mostly focused on right now. So my latest book is called God, A Human History, and it's essentially the story of how the very concept of God arose in human evolution and how it has evolved over the last few years. And then also some notions about where it might be going in the future. You know, I remember quite clearly when Farhang first began. You know, I was in Los Angeles, and I remember coming to an event and first hearing about it. And I think, you know, any kind of organization focused on celebrating the beauty of Persian culture and traditions, music, art, literature, the things that we're actually known for, is incredibly important, particularly at this time where there's so much misinformation and so many people think that Iran they only understand Iran through the politics or religious lens, right? That's the only two things that they think about, and those are the two least important things to most Iranians. So I'm really grateful to Farhang and everything that you guys are up to here.